right there. So that's when you create a note, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you type something in here, best certification study guide for a BA, and you post that posts to the Ingenious community. But the idea being, I mean, to me, one of the easiest things or one of the most straightforward things would be for that to then automatically post to your profile
Yeah.
in C2 with then all the parameters that you have, which is posting to your cohort groups. Now, how much C2 does and how much, to me, Ingenious is probably just calling, the service is just calling Ingenious. To me, C2 would be saying, oh, this needs to be sent, shown to the project management group. Because C2 has all that infrastructure. I don't think we'd want to replicate all this infrastructure
Whatever
here.
communities or groups I am part of, I
Yes.
think it needs to get posted because
That's right.
are my followers and followings, right?
Right.
That's where I think it needs to get posted.
Right.
It's
So,
logically,
it can be integrated to a user level. So, for example, it could be as good as if someone posts a comment here, if Jay or Krishna posting a comment here, it can be as good as he or she posting a comment in C2, and then based on his followers and his group he is belonging to, it can get propagated there. So, the solutioning part, we can look at the
Right.
options we have, and then we can integrate it there.
Right. And it would be good if also in that link there was a direct link to that title.
exactly.
So that the user
That's
can just
very important.
fire, right,
Yeah.
because that's what you're trying to do, right, is propagate.
Because anyway it is SSO enabled, so
Right.
they won't see it as two different entities altogether.
Yeah.
Okay, so like how I launched, never asked an user ID or password, we
Right.
ran that implementation.
Right,
I think
right.
We can do that.
Right. So, when you make a recommendation, that could post as an item. So I'm thinking, actually, if you go back to, can you click on My Home again? You might have to cancel out of that. Okay. And then click that Ingenious tab. And I think you guys, for a lot of customers, the Ingenious tab is the default tab that comes up when you click My Home. And the user can also choose that. So what's supposed to be here is your activity stream. So this
Sure.
recent activity should be listing the people who have joined, the recommendations have been made, the notes and comments. So to me, it's just a matter of pulling some of those items and populating them into C2. Yeah. So,
And one quick thing, I mean, maybe it's to technically, can Ingenious, if C2 exposes service, can Ingenious push the data, or it should be C2, whether C2 should pull the data from Ingenious, how it's going to be?
yeah, I don't know. That's a technical discussion we need to have. My gut instinct is that C2 would be calling the Ingenious API.
It depends,
That's
right?
fine.
Where is going to be the feed happening? That's
Yeah.
where that needs to call the other one.
Yeah,
For example, something on, so I do an activity here. Okay?
Yeah.
So this immediately needs to call C2 API.
yeah,
So that
Yeah.
way I think it is going to be a seamless experience.
Yeah.
Yes, it will get
It's gonna be
batch
a-
and you won't have that kind
Yeah.
of integration well done.
right.
Basically, it should be both ways actually, where the
Yeah.
activity happens. If the activity happens in C2, and if you wanted information in, say for example, profile, you said, right, user profile. If I update a profile information there and
It
that
needs
has
to
to
go.
go here,
Yeah.
then C2 can push it. Whereas if activity happens here, and if it has to be real time, it makes much logical sense to push it from the source itself, which in this case it's Ingenious.
Right.
And what I see is one use case probably, which is probably more related to, let's say, formal learning is assuming book as especially for certifications, books as an
Sure.
on-demand resource,
Right.
right? I would let C2 kind of give that, even if it gets, if for example, you put a certification command and pushes it in kind of, so there's a threaded display which happens in Ingenious,
Right.
right? C2 has that suite, it goes in a suite to that community, and that people who are going to be kind of part of that community, either as part of certification or part of, let's say, a learning program with a specific object.
Right.
And they can come back to this, and in the book,
Yep.
if they see the comments,
Right.
more contextual.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly, because you can make a comment on the third paragraph of chapter 3 if you want. You can make a very detailed level comment. So it seems like that would make more sense. Like each comment, each note or comment that gets made gets posted up to C2, maybe without a lot of context, but then when you click through, you'll see, oh, there's a whole threaded discussion here, 3 or 4 guys who are discussing this particular topic. So bring them in there to have that. I mean, these seem like, to me, fairly straightforward
Yeah.
things. From a following, like we have in here, this following and followers. So if you click on any one of these people in the bottom, you can click to follow them. You can view their profile. And you can either follow right from here. But I don't think you want to bother doing that, right? I mean, he's got 7 followers. Could be because he's the first guy listed down there and everybody's curious and they click him and he has his photo up. So you could follow here, but to me, I don't think that even really matters because the following should be what's happening in C2.
Correct.
Similarly, things like he's got this G score. So we have that badging that goes on here, right? You start with 0. It's very easy to get to 1. Probably having 7 followers is enough to get you to 1, and then you max out at 5. So again, our Ingenious score, it's not really that relevant because you've got other things that drive the C2 score. So to me, this is not a tremendous amount of activity that we're trying to feed the actions that happen here into C2, and potentially the C2 profiles. It would be great if people's more robust profiles came over and were here, so that when you are seeing a detailed threaded discussion in a certification book, without linking back to C2, you know who that person is. Because each user still has to have a joined profile in order to make these activities.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
The other
Okay.
aspect which is probably important is as JP said, right? So one of the things is we have this following in C2.
Right.
So if you have common interest in that, or we are mapped to the same communities.
Right.
See, one is looking at the community aspect. The other aspect is I might have follow specific individuals.
Right.
Maybe across multiple communities. Right?
That's right. So that's your own sort of ad hoc group of people.
So what happens is today I think if you look at your top 10 consumption, right, that's where the My Books, we started the idea of My Books from that. We are drawing that idea, right?
Right.
But that's more at a universal consumption.
That's right. So those are the top 10 books within the entire enterprise.
Exactly,
Right.
But instead of that, now I know that, okay, I'm following JP and say Vijay and Pam
Yep.
on this thing, right? And on a common interest. This is the book which is coming up on top of my search, on top of my information requirement. Right? Might be a way forward, right?
Yeah.
As we become more, as we tend to go toward more personalized,
Yeah.
or interest groups which are common kind of stuff.
Right.
May not be an immediate use case, but over
Communities.
we get the
Basically, we should map communities.
Right. Right. Because today with Ingenious, we just have the concept of a single community.
Yeah.
You couldn't create a project management mini community and invite all of us to it. It's something we know people want. It's something that we're working on doing. But if we can leverage all that, that's already you're way ahead of most other customers in terms of social learning because you're already doing this stuff. Leverage what already exists and feed, this is just another component. Are there any other, I know you had your blog on C2, and are there any other ways, like for example, say you read a really good Wikipedia article that you think is great. Is there a way to share things from the
Suites.
web? Okay.
Basically suites. I
Okay.
can post it for the entire cognizant.
Yep.
You saw that thing, right?
Yep.
So if I feel comfortable sharing it with
But is it up to the user to
Yeah.
copy and paste the URL and
Yeah.
out of the browser?
I think
and,
they are working on shrinking the URL also. The tiny
okay,
URL
get
concept,
tiny
but,
URL or something.
Since we have just 140 characters.
Right, okay.
So we are trying
Okay.
to do that.
So we have the URL chart, those are coming up here.
Yeah. So.
So here's somebody
There's
just
three
did actually.
characters,
Here's a
right,
quote
for
right here.
example.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep,
so we have
exactly.
something like that.
Right, okay. And do
People
people
share.
do that a lot? I mean, I would imagine that happens a lot, that you
Yeah,
see
yeah.
an article of
If
interest.
I go to
Okay.
public stream, it is like full of all this.
Right.
Okay, I read
Well-
that, I read this.
Right,
Okay,
right,
so what
right.
do you look at that? All
Right.
these things. Okay.
Well, here's one of the things we recommend to people today, which I call Ingenious 1.0 collaboration, which is because every single book, every single page is a unique URL. So if you're in chapter 3 of that project management book
Wow,
and it's
that would be
great,
nice.
copy and paste the URL and dump it in here. I mean, people could do that today and deep link them right in. So that's more of a case of behavior, having people think that, oh, that's something I could actually do. So if you go back to Books 24/7, since you still have the tab open, and let's just go back to My Home and let's pick a book out of, maybe go back to that business analysis book or something like that. And, just open it up. And pick a chapter, like let's go deep into the book somewhere, yeah. Now you'll see that URL up at the top. You can't see the whole thing, but it has the unique ID
Oh,
and
right.
and the chunk, which is the page and the section. So if you copy and pasted that into a suite, boom, somebody could link right here.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah. So again, there's no web services or anything like that, but that's a way that you could encourage people to include some of these resources when they're.
So when I do recommend, this URL goes in, or how it is?
That won't change the URL at all. Nope, that just
I
goes
think
into.
it needs to have a share then.
Yeah,
We
well,
should
there is
have
a, there's a,
share.
there is a share, that little envelope in the toolbar. Yep,
Oh,
no, to the right,
yeah.
sorry, the next one over, the little envelope, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so that's a share link, and what that will do, if you click on that, I think it's gonna bring you to a page. It may launch your email. Okay, so here is the URL right below. So you can either copy and paste this into an email, or a note, or a suite, or anything. And we're gonna be enhancing this share, because we know people, we're just gonna have a URL
Correct.
that you can,
When I just say share, right? Okay, so if you can show me my EC2 communities,
right.
I can choose one of it and then share
Right.
it. Fantastic.
Well, and that's an
Nothing
idea. Maybe that share button could almost be that functionality. I mean, again, I'm not technical. I just pretend to be. But that maybe that share button could be the method by which that gets pushed out as a suite or something like
Yeah,
that.
that is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
When I
yeah.
say communities, probably it can be a speed
Right.
into my community.
Right.
So, because I know pretty well, I manage a lot of people and I've seen this book and this
Yeah.
page, which we were been discussing yesterday.
Right.
And I referred this, and probably if I wanted to share it, I can share it.
Right.
Because
So
this was fantastic. I never thought of this kind of thing. Because I was referring some of the books here, but I was not understanding that, okay, I can share like this. Okay.
yeah, and you can share at any level. Every page is a unique URL.
Fantastic. That's very nice.
Yeah, yeah. So that's something that maybe as learning leaders or people who are interested in this, you guys could start maybe doing, and we can even post. We have a quick one pager that talks about posting links to other communities. Maybe we customize that for C2, just until we figure out what this integration really looks
So
like.
you don't have anything to post on Facebook and other things, right?
We don't now. Yeah, we don't have any kind of widget to post to Facebook. You know how you often will see that on a news site, post to Facebook, post to Twitter, post to... Because for the most part, Facebook isn't going to help you that much, because most of your Facebook friends probably don't have access to books 24/7, unless they're all Cognizant associates.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
logically,
so that's the
yes.
tricky bit. But the beauty of something like Cognizant, where you have enterprise-wide access and you have a community that's enterprise gated,
You can
anybody who
have that,
clicks on
yeah.
that is going to get
That's
access.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
it does
yeah.
make sense.
So,
This is good. I think we can.
I mean, that's something you may be able to, literally tomorrow you could start doing. Like I said, we have this one document. We wrote it for Yammer specifically, but we can change the terminology, we can change the branding on this one pager just to show people, here's how you share something you find in books 24/7 on C2.
We can do a branding from our side, right?
Yeah.
The My Books app and My Learning portal.
Yeah,
We can do all the branding. There's a new feature and things
Right,
like that.
right,
I think
right.
This is quite interesting. Okay, I'm pretty impressed with this sharing of a page.
Right.
That's